My name is Trent, and I'm going to be hosting this call. This is a picture of me and my dad. I got very passionate about metabolic health when my dad, 7 years ago, died from stage 4 colon cancer. My dad was my hero. Many of you have a parent, a sibling, a loved one who is your hero or your friend. And that was my dad. Um, and my dad, it was the colon cancer that finished the poor guy off. But long before he had colon cancer, he had other problems. He struggled with weight control. He struggled with cholesterol, with blood pressure. He was insulin resistant or pre-diabetic. He was on a bunch of medications for these different metabolic problems. My dad had psoriasis all over his body and was being prescribed all kinds of drugs for his psoriasis, sometimes getting as many as 250 shots a month into his legs. And one of the main tragic side effects of those medications was colon cancer. And so my dad is no longer with us. He was taking biologics. He was taking all kinds of drugs. And unfortunately, he didn't make it. But when my dad got sick, I made it my mission to spread awareness about metabolic health, about the problem of insulin resistance. And now I have a pretty large following all over the world as I talk about this and teach you what I know and what I think can help save the world. It's important that you know a couple of things as we get started and before I bring these medical professionals, these very wonderful guests on tonight. By the way, that's me and my family. I'm a father. I have 3 young children, and that's my beautiful wife, Denise. And okay, we have lots of medical professionals on the call tonight. In fact, if you are a medical professional, if you're a doctor, a nurse, a diabetes educator, a dietitian, if you work in the medical community, would you mind just putting medical in the chat? I want people to see what is happening on this call. Okay. And many of you are watching a restream or listening to the recording of this. I just want to, I'm not exaggerating here. Okay. Chiropractor, medical, RN, medical, RN, medical, dentist, medical. There's another 53 messages of people saying medical. Okay. So, and counting. All right. So if you were to ask a bunch of medical professionals, and those that are on this call can, feel free to call me out if I'm wrong about this. But if you were to ask a bunch of medical professionals and top scientists what the biggest problem is in North America and most of the world right now, it's metabolic health. We have a crisis. There is an epidemic. It is a problem that is getting worse and worse. And the underlying root cause of many of these metabolic health problems is something called insulin resistance. Now, you may not be familiar with that term, but you will be familiar with it over the next few years. This is going to be everywhere. This is what everybody is talking about now. Most people are not talking about yet, but everybody certainly will be talking about this as more and more awareness grows. Okay. So insulin resistance is the underlying root cause that is either directly or indirectly related to things like obesity, like fatty liver, like diabetes and pre-diabetes. Diabetes is like insulin resistance squared. Okay. Migraine headaches often come from insulin resistance, right? Mental health problems like Alzheimer's, dementia, heart disease, which is the #1 killer in the world, right? The #1 killer in the world often starts with things like insulin resistance. PCOS, the #1 cause of infertility among females. PCOS is a huge problem all over the world. And what's the #1 contributor to PCOS? Insulin resistance. For men, erectile dysfunction, all kinds of pretty much every metabolic health condition starts with insulin resistance. Okay. Now, there are lots of drugs, lots of treatment options for all of these conditions. There's never ending treatment options, right? And they're expensive. They sometimes have side effects. For one reason or another, many of these treatment options are undesirable to us. I saw my dad slowly get sicker and sicker and sicker. It didn't solve the root cause of the problem. Now, imagine with me for a moment that there was a natural, clinically proven, and drug-free solution to the problem of insulin resistance. What if you could address, or maybe in some cases even solve, this problem? Well, in many cases, you might solve some of these other problems, right? And if you can start solving some of those problems by solving the root problem, you could change the world and save millions, probably billions of lives from premature, unnecessary deaths. People like my dad, right? There is a natural, clinically proven, patented solution to the problem of insulin resistance, and nobody knows about it yet. This has been studied by some of the top institutions in the world. There is almost zero awareness about it. And we're doing this call and we're inviting these medical professionals on for the sole purpose of spreading awareness. We, the people, need to be aware of what is happening and what the treatment options are and the natural treatment options that maybe nobody's ever told us about. Okay. Now, I know that many of you are not on this protocol and have not started using this program yet. And so if you've not been on the protocol and you don't know what I'm talking about and you're not aware of this solution, I'm going to explain it in just a moment. But I want to ask for a favor from all of you that are using the protocol. If you or somebody in your household maybe has one of these problems, right, around this circle, and you have been using the protocol, would you just put a yes in the chat for me? If you're using the protocol, put a yes in the chat. Okay. On the live call right now, we have it's up to 457 people, and we're getting more yeses than I can keep up with. Okay. So many of you are already on this protocol. Thank you. That is helpful for me. All right. Let me explain this, and then I want to bring in some medical professionals who are far more savvy than I am. Well, the whole world was taking statin drugs, metformin, Ozempic, and a number of other pharmaceuticals. Did you know that there is a natural alternative? This would be called a nutraceutical. Now, most people are familiar with a pharmaceutical, which is a drug, right? A nutraceutical would be a natural, clinically proven, so it has to be clinically proven, but it would be a natural alternative to the pharmaceutical, something that had no drugs in it. Okay. Now, this is a buzzword right now, this nutraceutical, and it's collecting steam and gaining energy because of, well, people like you and I that are talking about it right now. Okay. So there is a clinically proven natural solution that has 5 patents on it. So none of the big drug companies can copy it. This was actually originally developed. The foundation of this came from the Rexall name. Some of you are familiar with the Rexall name. Rexall used to be the biggest, Rexall Drugs was actually the biggest drugstore in the world. And back in the 90s, Rexall Showcase came out with a blend of plant fiber that they said would one day change the world. No drugs, natural. Okay. So nobody can copy it. There are now clinical studies done by the likes of the Cleveland Clinic, who is the #1 heart hospital in the world, the University of Sydney in Australia. I mean, these guys, University of Sydney, they invented the glycemic index. These are the blood sugar experts, right? There's a bunch of other institutions, BYU, UNLV, Stanford, and more than I can mention, that have studied this and are in love with it. They love what it does. Okay. There are no drugs in this. Nobody's trying to sell you a drug here. Okay. This is something that comes from plants. It is safe. It is also effective enough that it is guaranteed to work. If somebody uses it properly and consistently for about 90 days, okay, it's not magic. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But if you use it properly and are consistent, it will work for you. Guaranteed. The manufacturer guarantees it. Okay. Now you'd think that a protocol that had been studied by the #1 heart hospital in the world, that was safe, that was natural, that was clinically proven, and that was guaranteed to work for people. And let's just be clear about that. This is something that somebody can prove with a blood test. When they go to their same doctor and they do their blood work again, it will be dramatically, measurably, obviously better, or they could just get a refund, right? And I'm going to give you a bunch of proof on that in just a moment, okay? This is also something for the masses. Everyone, well, most everyone can afford it. and I'll explain how it pays for itself. It is now available in about 50 different countries, and we hope that it will soon be available all over the world. Now, this is HSA qualified already. It is FSA qualified already. And if this call can serve one purpose and one purpose only, I hope it's that by listening to the medical professionals that we have speaking on this call in just a moment, that it will wake up the sleeping world and let them know that there are alternatives that are natural with no drugs, and that this may, in many cases, and I don't want to oversell this, be a way off of prescription drugs. And that's not what I'm saying, because who am I to say that? That's actually what some of these institutions have said. And I'll show you the proof in just a moment. So what is it? Many of you said you're new, you have not started the protocol, okay? This is very simple. It is a two-step protocol. Now, it takes many people 50 years to develop some of these metabolic health problems we're talking about, right? Fatty liver, obesity, type 2 diabetes, right? And we're talking about attacking that aggressively. And to do that, there is a two-step protocol, which involves fasting and fiber, okay? Fasting and fiber. Now, when somebody is doing some fasting, it's important that they don't feel hangry or deprived or feel like cheating, right? And so the Unimate is something that is now in the physician's desk reference. Doctors can look it up and see everything about it, right? That when somebody sips it, it helps them forget about food, okay? In fact, recent clinical studies, one done by the number one expert in the world on insulin resistance, Dr. Benjamin Bickman, he studied the Unimate and said that it raises GLP-1 by 50%, in some cases more, okay? So think about that. The whole world right now is taking injections like Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro and tirzepatide to try and get more GLP-1 synthetically. And those drugs are expensive, and those drugs also have some undesirable side effects for some people. But from the mate plant, Unimate is a concentrated extract of that plant that makes it very concentrated, very potent, but very safe. And they can get more GLP-1. We can get more GLP-1 naturally, without all the money and without all the drugs, right? Then step two, when it's time to eat, right before at least our largest meal each day, we are taking a blend of plant fiber, okay? This is something that is going to change the world. When in the next 5-10 years, when you're traveling to Pakistan or Pennsylvania or Peru, you're going to go into bakeries and coffee shops and go to family dinners, and at that bakery, they're going to be selling packets of this fiber at the front counter, because it will be common knowledge that if you're going to eat that donut, by having this blend of fiber called balance before you eat that donut, your blood sugar won't spike the way it otherwise would. Your insulin won't spike the way it otherwise would. It will help control cholesterol and triglycerides. And instead of eating a box of donuts, which I used to do all the time, I'll have one and be totally sugared out, right? So this is a two-step protocol, fasting and fiber. One that you sip when you're not eating, and one that you have before your largest meal each day. I personally have one before every meal because of what this does, okay? Now, what does it look like in a typical day for those that are new? Well, if you've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, many people have snacks in between meals, right? What most of us are doing on this protocol, and some people are at a very healthy weight. We have athletes. We actually have a gold medalist that is using this protocol, right? So you don't need to be, I don't care how healthy somebody is. If they want to become more insulin sensitive, they can use this protocol to help them, right? So if you've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what many of us are doing is we're skipping a meal. We're skipping, let's say, breakfast, right? And the Unimate is used to make me forget that I'm skipping a meal. I can fast for forever. I've got some right here, right? I also have, what I'm doing right now is I have a second Unimate often between lunch and dinner to help me extend my fast or help me avoid snacking between meals. So while we're fasting, we're keeping that insulin level down, we're burning body fat for fuel, and we're becoming more insulin sensitive, right? And then before the largest meal each day, I'll have a balance. I like to have another balance before both of my meals, but that's pretty much it. It's that simple. One when you're not eating, and one before you eat. This one is one that I like to sip, and this is one that I like to slam or chug, right? Now, cost. The cost of this protocol is about the price of a cup of coffee per day. It's about $5 per day. All right. And what's nice is that by skipping a meal, I mean, most people spend more than $5 on their morning coffee at Starbucks or whatever, right? But when we skip a meal and even skip snacks, right? I used to have peanut M&Ms and Diet Pepsi in the afternoon or Coke, and now I'm saving that money and saving the money I saved skipping a meal, and that covers the cost of the protocol. We have people on fixed income, we have people on disability, people that have very, very limited amount of spending money. They're able to afford this protocol because the protocol pays for itself, right? Which is awesome for medical professionals to have something like this in their toolbox, right? And there's 500 of us on this call right now, and thousands, millions more that I think are going to watch the recording. This is awesome. Now, some of you on here are skeptical for sure. You've never heard of this before. You're not one of the people that's on the protocol. I'm going to give you a lot of proof in just a second. Don't worry about that. But I want you to think for a second. What if this is all true? What if there really is a natural nutraceutical that is clinically proven, right? That's been studied by these institutions and they're saying is the bomb, and that this is something that pays for itself. In fact, if you're on this protocol and you have noticed you are saving money on the protocol, would you just write like a dollar symbol in the chat? Write a dollar symbol in the chat if you're saving money on this protocol versus what you were spending before. I feel like I save over $100 a month versus my old grocery bill. Okay. Look at that. Okay. Look at that. Saving. Okay. It is so awesome. Now, let's say you're the skeptic, like I was, who doesn't believe anything he hears and has to study and research everything. In fact, let's say that you've got your doctor right now, which we're going to bring some doctors on, but you've got your doctor on speed dial. And while I'm talking on the phone, you call your doctor and you're like, hey, I'm on this Zoom call. This is wild. These guys are acting like they've got something that's about to change the world and nobody knows about it yet. And I've never heard about it. Well, what about you, doctor? What do you know about unicities, Unimate, and balance? Your doctor's going to say, I've never heard of it. Tell me more. And you're going to say, well, doctor, do me a favor. I'm told that this is now in the physician's desk reference and that you can look it up. And your doctor can go and look it up. And your doctor will say something like, that sounds really cool. I'm surprised I've never heard of that before. Let me know how that goes, right? Or yeah, you could try that and we could test it, right? And 90 days later, you're going to go to the same doctor and you're going to do your blood work again. And your doctor then, when they see your blood work before and after, is going to be like, what did you say that was called again? I'm very interested. Could you send me some more information on that? Based on your blood work, I think that there are other patients I have that might like to see this. Okay. This is now HSA qualified. It is FSA qualified, and I think is soon going to shake the world. The Cleveland Clinic, the #1 heart hospital in the world, said that this product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk. That's the #1 killer in the world on a population basis, and that this could potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. That's the #1 heart hospital, the Cleveland Clinic's concluding statement after studying this, okay? This is actually the only natural, clinically proven, and patented alternative to statin drugs in the physician's desk reference. The doctor can see what it does for blood sugar, blood insulin levels, what it does for GLP-1. This is going to change the world. And I was going to show some testimonials and kind of explain that. I want to get to our medical professionals, but first I promised the group a bunch of proof. So I want to give you some proof, okay? And the proof that comes from me as the host of this call is less helpful than proof that might come from many of you who are actually dealing with type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, PCOS, hypertension, etc. So I want to ask you a favor before we bring in some medical professionals. If you or somebody in your home has been using this product and has been following this protocol, and if you have experienced measurable positive results, and I don't want you to exaggerate, okay? If you have experienced measurable positive results, put a sentence or two in the chat, and I'm just going to read some of this from the chat, okay? And I won't have time to read them all, so I'm going to skip around a little bit. We've got to get to the medical professionals. They're the reason why we're doing this call. Okay. I am scrolling because everybody's got money signs in the chat because they're saving money. All right. Let me find it. Okay. Derek Henderson, perfect lipid panel after 30 days on the product. No need for a statin. Troy Hatch, I struggled with migraines for 23 years. Acid reflux, anxiety, depression, brain fog, and after I donated a kidney 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. 7 years later, after starting this protocol, I have now completely reversed this. I freaking love this. I love it. Kate Monahan, my knee and hip joint pain is gone. Alan Kashner, I reversed my diabetes and fatty liver. I'm off 6 medications and lost 72 pounds. Michael Martin, 8.5 months, down 111 pounds. I was on 25 pills per day, now down to 3. 8 of those were blood pressure pills. I've reversed my type 2. I'm going to scroll a little bit here. Renee Peterson, 1 year off medications, down over 70 pounds, 65 inches. Vertigo and inflammation are gone. Dr. Kenny, down 50 pounds. Sleep apnea is gone. High blood pressure is gone. My wife has reversed PCOS over 20 years of PCOS. Renee Bird says, I've reversed my type 2 diabetes. Patty Parks, I've lost 50 pounds and I'm off 3 blood pressure medications. David Baker says 6 months, down 30 pounds. Kate Monahan, 20 pounds and 14 inches gone in 130 days. Joe Butler says, I've lowered my A1C. Rhonda Flores says, I've lost 27 pounds. D. Haynes, A1C went from a 10.4 down to a 7.2 in 3 months, down 22 pounds. There's 62 additional messages. Dr. Patrice Gordon, I've noticed my daily glucose levels have dropped. Misty Zimmerman, I've lost 62 pounds, reversed my neuropathy, off blood pressure and antidepressants. I took them for over 30 years. I feel 20 years younger. LaDonna Lamp. Sorry, LaDonna. I've been on statins for years. I started this at the end of October. My cholesterol level is now normal. Dan Baer, my A1C went from a 7 to a 5.9 in 2 months. Shannon Davis, registered dietitian. Triglycerides are down from 250 to 50, and my HDL went from 53 to 122. There are 60 additional messages. I do not have time to read all of them. Here's just one more. My A1C, this is Jeff Lanham. My A1C went from a 9.4, which is type 2 diabetes, down to a 5.4 in 4 months. No more high blood pressure, neuropathy, down 74 pounds. When I say that this is going to change the world and I'm going to give you proof, that's it. And we've got clinical proof. We've got social proof from people that are on the protocol. I've got my personal proof, and anybody that does it for 90 days and gets their blood work done will have their personal proof, right? If you use it properly and are consistent, it can help you. If you use it properly and are consistent, it will work for you. Right? And the manufacturer guarantees this. This is not my product. I buy this every month. I use it every month. I don't own stock in the company. None of these doctors own stock in the company, right? We love this. We're spreading awareness about it. We believe in it. And my first guest is Dr. Midge Brown. Midge Brown is a doctor in Toronto, Canada. And I'm excited to have Dr. Brown here. Dr. Brown, I'm going to reduce my spotlight and just let you talk for a little bit. Tell us about you and why you're passionate about this and believe in it.
Thanks so much, Trent. Before I go on, I just want to thank Trent because it's because of him I found the products and it's changed the trajectory of my health and my family's health. And I'm just really proud to be here. So my story goes back actually 28 years. It's not a long story though, so don't worry. But essentially, my father was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 28 years ago, and I was doing my peds residency here in Toronto at Sick Kids. And because he was like many people, he had ignored his symptoms, right? And so he was really, really sick when he got diagnosed, and he had to be hospitalized. And I was across the country from him, and I wanted to help him. And the way I decided to help him was to subspecialize in endocrinology, so pediatric endocrinology, which for those of you guys who don't know is a hormone doctor and a diabetes doctor. And eventually we actually got him living with us here in Toronto. And we had, we live in Canada, so we have healthcare. We got him all the specialists that he needed. He had all the medicine he could have. And still, I saw his diabetes progress. And he wasn't a bad patient. He did what he was told. He tried to eat what they told him. And yet his diabetes progressed so much so that he had so many complications. Like right off the bat, he had diabetic retinopathy, which is a very, very common diabetic complication of the eyes where you go blind. So he's pretty much blind. He's had impaired kidney functions. He's had chronic ulcers on his leg. He's had heart problems where he has a pacemaker now, and he's had multiple mini strokes. And that's, I think, the worst thing of all, because in the past 8 years, we've seen his dementia get worse and worse. And, for anybody who has had a family member with dementia, it's the worst thing ever, right? Because you see them not be themselves. And so, long story short, in my late 40s, as I was going into perimenopause, I started getting pre-diabetes, right? And I was scared stiff because I saw with our patients, I saw with my dad that the medications were not going to save me. And I really looked into what I could do that could save me. And I found things like intermittent fasting and carb restriction, like these things work, right? Because we're addressing it at the source. My only problem was that I really struggled with the carb restriction. Like I just kept falling off what I call the keto wagon. I'm a foodie. I love carbs. And I just kept struggling with it. So much so that in October of 2022, I had gained a bunch of weight by then. And I was on metformin. My hemoglobin A1C had kept rising, and we kept it at 6% on metformin. And I had a lot of other symptoms like brain fog, anxiety, skin tags. What else did I had? Low energy, right? Like just things we tell you guys is normal, just aging, right? I had all those symptoms, and I was like really frustrated with myself, and quite frankly, very scared because I was really trying. And in October 2022, I came across this guy on TikTok, and it was Trent Tueller, and he was talking to me about gut health. I also had some gut issues and about insulin resistance. And I was like, what now? Like, what is he saying? Like, how come I don't know a lot of this? And of course, I don't think I ever told you this, Trent, but I fact checked you, right? Let me just take a sip of water.
You fact checked me. Oh, that's good. I hope everybody
I fact checked you. And I'm like,
all of this. Yeah.
yeah, fact checked, right? I'm like, okay, no, that's true. That's true. I was actually blown away that I, as an endocrinologist, did not know the half of insulin resistance. Like this was mind boggling to me. And so then he started talking about this product, and I'm like, holy cow, that could actually work. And I think because I'm in Canada, and we still have Rexall pharmacists. I was much more open to the product because I'm like, oh, I know Rexall, like that's a reputable brand. And so I ordered the product, and really the rest is history. And I think in anyone who's been on the Unimati will know that like it's instant where you drink it and you feel different, right? And that was massive where I just felt better. I had better energy. I had like the brain fog started to go away. And then it was incredible because about 3 months in, I had lost 20 pounds. And I wasn't that heavy to begin with, but I am 5 feet. So 20 pounds was a lot on me. And that was when I was 52. So that was like a miracle in itself, right? Because I'm postmenopausal at that point. So I was like, this is amazing. And then I started seeing my blood sugars go down despite eating more like carbs, because I was still trying to control my carbs, but it was still going down. And I'm like, holy cow. So it was about 3 or 6 months where I decided I'm going to go off metformin. And now off metformin, my hemoglobin A1C is totally normal, 5.3, or sorry, 5.3 was the last time I checked. Totally normal. It did like all my lipid parameters are beautiful. And I was like, holy cow. So of course I had my husband go on it. And you're going to hear from the other Dr. Brown later. So I'll let him tell his story. And then I had my father go on it. And this is a crazy story because of his dementia, we didn't get him to intermittent fast. We didn't get him to carb restrict. Like, food is his life now. We're not going to take that away from him now. So we just had him do the products. Like we just had him be very, very consistent with the products. And it was incredible because he started at a hemoglobin A1C of 8.3. He was on multiple different medications. And in 6 months, we were able to bring it down from 8.3 to 6.3. And that was just product. That was not any of the other stuff. And that was like incredible. So we did this in 6 months, what I've been trying to do in 28 years with my own father, improve his diabetes. I think, yeah, this is incredible. But the big thing I want you guys to take from this message is that all is not lost. We have an amazing solution that can help you. But my biggest regret when I think about this is I didn't know about this sooner, because I feel like I could have saved my dad from his dementia. And anyways, I'm going to stop there because I don't want to start crying. But yeah, thank you.
Protein powder or vitamins. This is a nutraceutical with clinical studies that prove, it's not a matter of whether or not it works. The case has been closed on that with these clinical studies that have been done. And now we need the world to know about it. The problem is, since a pharmaceutical company doesn't own the patents on it, nobody knows about it. So this is a great man and doctor named Dr. Eric Akin, who is a neurosurgeon and one of the smartest people I've ever met. I think that might just be something that happens when you want to study the brain. You got to have quite a brain yourself. But Eric's somebody who I've gotten to know as he has helped many people with this protocol and their health problems. And Eric's somebody who I admire and respect. So Dr. Akin, maybe tell us a little bit about you and why you're excited about this option.
Yeah, so I'm come from a medical family, and my father was a general surgeon. My uncle's an ophthalmologist. We have a number of nurses in the family. And so I've grown up sort of with my eye on the trends in healthcare for a long time. And I think that I and probably every one of the physicians that are going to present to you something tonight have noticed that we're not doing well in one particular area of medicine, which is chronic disease. The overweight, the diabetes, the high blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease, and all of the related diseases around that, like dementia and fatty liver disease and sexual dysfunction that's caused by insulin resistance and all of those things. And so I'm going to tell you a quick story to explain to you where we are with this product. And exactly, it's a similar situation, but it's exactly what's going on with this product, the Feel Great system. So the story starts in 1971. A man named Frederick Smith was he was in an economics class at Yale University, one of our finest universities in the United States. And for the final assignment in that class, the professor asked them to make a proposal for a business that would be revolutionary, that would change an entire industry. Well, Frederick Smith had a really good idea. He was very excited about this, and he put a lot of time in researching this and very carefully and methodically wrote this final term paper. Well, when he turned in the term paper a few days later, the grade came back. It was a C-, much to his dismay. Well, he approached the professor about it because he wanted to know, what was wrong with this. And the professor was essentially almost laughing at him. But he went on to explain why he gave the grade. And he said, this grade was a gift. Honestly, you should have had an F, but I kind of liked you. But as he's listening to this professor, he'd done a lot of research, and he's realizing this professor has some gaps in his knowledge about the industry he was writing about. Not only that, but he was basing a lot of his decisions on old ways of thinking. And so because of this, he still had faith in the idea. And 2 years later, he launches a business based on the paper that he wrote in that economics class, for which he would have received an F. You know this business today as Federal Express, FedEx. That was one of the greatest and most revolutionary businesses that came about. That is exactly where we are with the Feel Great system right now. This is a company that's come up with something that is revolutionary, and we are the early adopters. And yes, we do face some skepticism. We face some people who, from time to time, will even laugh at the circumstance until we can persuade them just enough to try this product for a few months. And then it's undeniable what happens. They uniformly have this same response metabolically. And the key word that Trent mentioned earlier is that it's measurable. We can prove it. And that's very important because people want proof these days. And so you can measure these things. You can measure an hemoglobin A1C and a blood pressure, and you can measure their serum glucose and a fasting insulin and their lipid levels. And you can see what happens on the scale for many people. And so the reason that I'm involved with this is I personally had a very strong response to this. I reversed my insulin resistance. My blood pressure came down. I'm 54 years old, and I'm a normal body weight my father died, by the way, from metabolic syndrome. So the same thing that most everyone else has died from. And I fit the bill for about only less than 5% of American males right now, being of normal body weight, normal blood pressure, on no medications, and a normal cholesterol profile. So if we can just convince you just enough to try this for 3 months, I'm certain that you're going to have the same response. We all recognize that this is the future of metabolic wellness and health in the world. And we're just standing strong, just like Frederick Smith did with his great idea before for Federal Express, and hoping that we can reap the whole world and bring them to the knowledge of this product. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akin. And thank you, to your credit, unlike the ignorant Yale professor in the story, you are an open-minded guy who could have laughed this off and said, I know what I'm doing. And instead, you, with an open mind, have looked at it and have been a real just support to this whole thing. And we're grateful for you. Thank you, Dr. Akin. I'm grateful for you and want to express my appreciation. Again, when I asked Dr. Akin, would he be willing to come on and share, I don't know what a neurosurgeon charges per hour, but it's a ridiculous amount of money. And he could be here and do this for free. So thank you, Doctor.
You bet.
Kenneth Harper. And Kenneth Harper is somebody that has been in practice for, I think, somewhere around 40 years. And Dr. Harper, maybe tell us, you've seen a lot over the last few decades as a doctor. What is it about this that has you excited? And maybe just, I'll mute myself and let you take over.
Trent, thank you so much. When you called yesterday to ask if I'd be willing to speak, I said, of course. I don't come from a medical family, but at a young age, before I started school, I kind of had this calling to be a physician. I can't explain it, but that was that. I was in pre-med in the first grade. That's kind of crazy, but true. But what I noticed if I think back about the children in the first grade with me, there were probably 35 students in the class. Yeah, classes were big. There was one teacher, but everybody was fairly normal size. There may be one kid out of the 35 that's maybe a little overweight. But when my kids, who are now in their 40s, were in school, the ratio had shifted a little bit. But now about 30% of the children in our elementary schools are pre-diabetic, obese. And then looking at my practice, I'm a general surgeon, and I practice general and vascular surgery from my first 12 years in practice. And then I'm kind of an entrepreneur spirit, and I was looking for something else to do that maybe would have a better long-term career financially to support my family. And kind of God led me into doing varicose vein work. So I've treated varicose veins, spider veins, and leg swelling, venous leg ulcers since about 1996. Eventually, I closed the door on my general surgery practice, which is like jumping out of the boat without a life vest in the early 2000s. But over time, I'm seeing more and more of my patients that come in that are obese or morbidly obese. A lot of them have chronic metabolic disease. Now, I didn't really know what that meant. I'd heard about it, maybe read a little bit about it, but I wasn't very familiar with it. And I myself had struggled a little bit with some weight issues, but really no serious health problems. I tried some different ways to maintain my health over the years. About 5 years ago, I did a program that was basically, after a while, I said, I'm just kind of starving myself, shakes and bars, and I wasn't eating enough. And one day I was thinking, this isn't sustainable. And, our phones listen to what we're saying. And I got this message from Yvette, who had been a nurse in our area. And she was talking about metabolic health, and she was talking about a natural way to deal with it. And I began to learn from her and from Trent. Thank you for both, and Shannon, about metabolic health, about insulin resistance. Heck, I didn't even know you could measure your insulin level. So after a while, doctors sometimes are a little skeptical. I studied, I was listening, and Yvette was probably saying, hey, come on, just try it. And I joined, and I started using Unicity. And it really made a difference in my life. I checked my insulin level, and it was 6 or 7. And Yvette said, hey, that's way too high. And I said, okay. And my testosterone level is about 2, right? And that's way too low. And over the next 3 months or so, my testosterone level went up to about 6.5, 7. And my insulin level went down to 2. I was a believer. And I was thinking about, I'd already been thinking about my practice about, we have all these patients that have metabolic disease with all its various forms that Trent did a great job of explaining. And I need to tell them. We were at a meeting in Nashville, and one of the speakers there was talking about, he was talking about, if you had something that could save somebody's life, wouldn't you share it? Just like if you were in a house and it was on fire, wouldn't you tell the people to get out? And so we started sharing this with our patients, and I started sharing it with my friends. And it's easy to be passionate about something you've seen has made a big difference in your life. And we have patients that are joining in. We have some of our staff, a lot of my friends, and people that I've met just by doing the videos that Trent taught us how to do. But this is life-changing. This is life-changing for me, for my family. And I'm so glad for people like Trent and Denise and Shannon and Yvette that went out there to share the message with me. And I would encourage you to share the message with your friends and your contacts, and follow Trent's system and Yvette, and listen to your coaches, because you can save lives too. And it's been my privilege to be in on the kind of the beginning of this. I think I've been a partner for about 6 months, and I've kind of, some people jump in and like in a month they're like diamond or something, but I've been steady at it, and I'm learning a lot, and it's made a difference for me, and it could for you too.
Well, Dr. Ken, I mean, you're giving way more credit to me than is due. I mean, I can say anything. I'm not a doctor, so people don't criticize me, but you to do this have been very brave and bold, and we're grateful for you. Thank you, Dr. Ken Harper. Great to meet you like this. I know we've met before, but it's great to hear you share your story. So thank you, Doctor. Our next guest is Dr. Tiffany Hendricks. She is a doctor in Huntsville, Alabama area, and somebody that I have gotten to know only, through this movement. She is the doctor that wants to get you off those medications. And I love Tiffany. Tiffany, would you talk maybe about why you're so passionate about this and why you've gotten involved?
Oh, yes, I most certainly will. But thank you so much, Trent, and everyone. I'm so happy to be on here with so many other accomplished doctors. You guys are awesome. I'm happy to have some like-minded people. But I got to show you something. Can I share something?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
Did I make you a co-host? Yeah, you should be able to share.
yeah, I wanted to make sure before I just up and shared, right? Um, so look, I literally am a doctor who just got tired of writing prescriptions. Okay. And 20 years ago, I had these big dreams. You know, that's me on the left getting my white coat. That's a big deal, getting your long white coat. That short white coat, we used to be like, oh, you're not a real doctor yet. Wait till you get your long coat. So that was a big deal, right? And then that's me all excited to walk across the stage because I'm like, I'm going to heal the world. I'm going to be armed with my blood pressure cuff, my stethoscope. And this is why I had to show this because I love this. I'm going to be a freaking superhero. And, you know, like many other superheroes, we all have tragic backstories. And so my first year in medical school, my father was someone who refused to take his medications. He refused to do anything that I told him to do, the things I knew how to do, right? He wanted to do a natural option, but I didn't know what to tell him. This was over 20 years ago. He battled diabetes, high blood pressure, but ended up dying after his third stroke, not one, not two, third stroke. With a family history of type 2 diabetes, his mother lost her foot, her ankle, real history, okay? So I became determined to help other people not have this same story. And of course, finding out about insulin resistance, changed everything. And everybody has talked about that greatly. And what I did was I went to private practice. And of course, armed with the knowledge I knew from medical school, which, you know, about nutrition was minimal, I told people how to do things, but they couldn't really latch on to the changes. It wasn't sustainable. And so what I found was that people weren't able to make those changes with their lifestyle alone because I didn't know how to teach them. So I was giving them prescriptions, and then there'd be drug reactions to the prescriptions. There'll be side effects. And then we had more and more prescriptions. And then most of my patients were looking just like this lady. I'm a family practice doctor. Well, I practiced there for 20 years, really. And so I was the first line of defense for type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol. I'm the one that sees it all and diagnoses you. I tried to change things up, do urgent care, then even do telemedicine. I ended up doing virtual primary care for 48 states. And that didn't help the problem because I just realized the problem was much bigger than I realized. Too many of us were struggling and didn't have the right answers. So getting to the root cause, and that's what actually made me want to look at lifestyle medicine. Our lifestyle actually can reverse these issues. Our genetics, yeah, that's like the land you're given, but how you till it determines what type of fruit you will yield. So you aren't bound by your genetics, right? But I didn't know this. But when I started figuring this out and getting on social media, that's when I was able to get connected with Anne-Marie, and that's when I learned about these natural products. And so why am I speaking up? You know, we have great studies, we have science, we have results that people send us all the time. And then everybody else, and then even my results, getting off of my blood pressure after 2 months, helping my brother come out the ICU, after getting off of insulin, Trulicity, metformin, helping my 72-year-old mom with her multiple sclerosis. For those that don't know what that is, that's an autoimmune disease attacking your brain, having trouble with dragging her leg. Now she's playing pickleball. It's this type of stuff that said, yes, I want to do this. This is why I'm speaking up. This is why you can't shut me down. This is why I'm like on fire, like all the time. You know why? Because I got my cake back. Oops, I cannot hear y'all.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Tiffany. And this is a woman who is, she is a superhero. And she has been instrumental now in saving so many lives and influencing so many lives with this protocol. We love you, Dr. Tiffany. Thanks for being on this call. Very well known, very well respected. This is Dr. Stephen Brown. Steve, if you wouldn't mind maybe just sharing from the heart why you're excited about this and why you as a medical professional feel passionate about, making sure people are aware of this option.
Thanks very much, Trent, and a great summary, Tiffany. Thanks for that excellent summaries and everybody's excellent summary. I believe in this product, and it's for personal reasons and also professional reasons. I'm going to tell you a story about the operating room today in just a second. But, I was 54 years old last year, and I had a bunch of issues. I had gained some weight. My cholesterol levels were elevated, specifically my triglycerides. I was on a blood pressure medication. And I had psoriasis, and I thought this was a normal part of aging. I thought this was just par for the course. And but then I was voluntold by the other Dr. Brown that you've heard from today. You really should try this product. This is a natural alternative. It's going to address all these metabolic health issues that not only you're facing, but other people we know in our family. And so I tried it. And the product works straightforward. We did the research, Dr. Brown and I. We looked into it. We tried it. We developed our own stories. We developed our family stories. And this was very powerful for us. It basically, I normalized within 3 to 6 months, I normalized my triglycerides. I was off my blood pressure medication. My psoriasis is gone, and I'm down 30 pounds. And I felt fantastic. I felt a new mental clarity, lots of energy, and I was convinced, and I was really impressed. So that's why I believe it from a personal point of view. In the operating room today, I gave anesthetics for 4 people who needed total joint replacements, total knee arthroplasty, it's called. And this is where arthritis has become so advanced that these people need their bones chopped off and metal implants put into their knee so that they can walk and they can function. This is typically years of deterioration. This is an end-stage severe problem, and it happens hundreds of thousands of times per year in North America. Metabolic health issues underlie a lot of degenerative processes in our body, and specifically arthritis. I mean, we know that obesity not just results in weight, sort of wear and tear, increased mechanical load on the joint, but fat tissue actually secretes cytokines, okay, and causes inflammatory changes in the meniscus. We know that hyperglycemia or high glucose states also cause oxidative stress and impair the repair of chondral cells. We know that high triglycerides, low high HDL, they can cause additional oxidative stress on the meniscal surfaces of the knee joint and all joints. And hypertension, chronic hypertension, diabetes causes microvascular disease, which actually causes you impaired nutrient delivery to the really important cartilage in all of your joints. And I realized that these were common themes to what we're talking. This was an end-stage product of unchecked metabolic disease. It's an extraordinarily common, extraordinarily serious endpoint, and it's not being addressed. There's not enough preventative measures being taken. So I remember this morning looking at the patient's charts. Patient number 1. Oh, hi, Mr. X. It's Dr. Brown. I'm going to be your anesthesiologist today. I'll be taking care of you. Let me just review your chart here. High cholesterol, diabetes, high BMI, hypertension, fatty liver disease. Oh, do you smoke, sir? Oh, yeah, I smoke as well. Okay. So let me get you through this as safely as I can. Next patient, read the chart. High cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension, BMI. 4 for 4 today. 100% of these people had metabolic issues contributing to their joint degeneration. And that's not just their knees. That's throughout their whole body. This is such an important underlying metabolic issue, and it's unbelievably prevalent, as you've heard from the other speakers. Up to 93% of people are suffering from metabolic health reasons of some kind. It really hit home for me today, and it's hit home for me in other types of other patients in the OR. But these people were all on, guess what? Metformin, statin, amlodipine, and some of them were even on Ozempic. And we haven't even talked about the side effects that I see in the operating room from Ozempic as well. So today was a powerful message for me. It reinforced my personal belief, all of your personal beliefs that we've heard from tonight, the personal beliefs of my wife and her family. So I've seen it personally, professionally. It is a serious problem. It's a common problem. And this product is the solution. It is a natural solution. It's early in the game. Nobody knows about it. We are in a unique position to make a serious difference in the world and help people save lives. So I'm excited to be a part of it. And thanks very much, Trent.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. I mean, when I said at the beginning of the call, this is a dream for me, something I've been imagining and seeing in my mind, I meant it. And it's Steve Brown, it's Midge Brown, it's Dr. Tiffany, it is Dr. Akin and Dr. Ken and Kenneth Harper, I should say. I'm calling you guys your nicknames now, and that's probably not very professional. But I know that we can change the world. If somebody you love, if somebody you care about, if your dad or your mom or your brother or your loved one, I know that we can change the world. If somebody you love, if somebody you care about, if your dad or your mom or your brother or your loved one is struggling with metabolic health, you want to make sure they know about this. They will thank you later. Okay. They will thank you later. And the company has a really amazing way of helping people know about this. The way that they let people know about this is through kind of the coolest thing I've ever seen. And let me just explain it. It'll take 30 seconds. And then if there's a question or two, we might have time for a question or two. I saw one question about ingredients, which I want to answer. So when somebody buys this directly from the manufacturer, it costs about $235 per month. But you don't have to pay that, and most people don't pay that because when you order the protocol through a discount link, you only pay $159 a month, which is about $5 a day. So whoever invited you to this call can send you the discount link, and this allows you two things. Number one, you will lock in this price forever. You'll get the discounted price, the lesser price forever. Okay. So forget about this. You get it for about $5 a day. Same price I pay, same price all of us that are on this protocol pay, right? And number two, you will also get your own discount link that you can share with anybody you'd like to. And when you share your discount link with somebody else, they will get the lower price, which will make them very happy. They'll get the 90-day money-back guarantee. You'll get a little $10 product credit, which is awesome, every time you refer somebody or every time they reorder, which might ultimately mean that you can get the product cheaper even than $5 a day, or maybe even for free if you refer several people, right? And, this is a way to change the world and do it as affordably as possible and give people something that is cost neutral, guaranteed to work, measurable, and that is clinically proven to have a dramatic effect on metabolic health. This is in the physician's desk reference. You can buy it with an HSA or an FSA. And just as you've seen tonight, there are medical professionals that are now catching on to this. Nobody really knows about this yet. But we want to change that. Every week we do these calls. This is the first call we've ever done like this with 5 doctors who selflessly came on and spent their valuable time sharing why they're excited about this. I hope that this will catch on and that there will be millions, not exaggerating. I hope that there will be millions of doctors, medical professionals, and regular people like you and I that share this with other people that we care about. It will work for them. If they use it properly and are consistent, it will work for them. And they have that guaranteed, and they can prove it with a blood test that they do with their doctor. Thanks for being on the call tonight. I did have one question that came in. Maybe one more we'll have time for. I want to wrap up. One person said, hey, I'd like to know about the ingredients. Right. She even mentioned that the company sends you a really nice bottle, right? This is what is the thing that they say? Is it BPA free? That's the safe kind. I think so. It's a very, very safe bottle. If you don't like to drink out of a plastic bottle, this is a free gift. You could put it in glass. Sometimes I put mine in glass, right? But that's totally up to you. The ingredients are safe. They come from plants. Somebody asked about maltodextrin. This is not the maltodextrin, the processed sugar type of maltodextrin. There's lots of different types of maltodextrin, including a resistant starch that is known as, I believe it's SCF maltodextrin. SCF stands for soluble corn fiber. And there is soluble corn fiber in the balance. It helps control blood sugar spikes very, very well, as well as a bunch of other fibers. So the balance is a blend of plant fiber. There's pectin, there's guar gum, there's beta glucan, there's a bunch of different types of fiber that go into the balance. And the Unimate is a concentrated extract that comes from the mate plant. The natural flavors in the balance are orange and grapefruit, I believe, from oranges and grapefruits. And the Unimate, depending on the flavor, Also, we'll have like this one is apple spice, which is a seasonal flavor. And so it does have some apple in it, but it's incredible. It's clean. It is safe. These products are gluten-free, vegan, kosher, halal. And there's something else that I'm supposed to say, but I always remember that last one. Let's see here. Vegan, gluten-free, kosher, halal, and very wonderful. I don't remember what the last thing is, but okay. There was one other question. Billy Whitener, how long do you have to stay on this product? Michelle Blackwell also says, once you start using it, do you have to continue using it for the rest of your life? All right, that's a really good question. I want you to think about this different than as a magic pill. Okay. This is a nutraceutical. So this, is an alternative pharmaceutical, and it's also an extremely effective preventative tool. I not only did I lose weight, but I feel like I've maintained my weight now for coming up on 3 years effortlessly, right? Which is pretty awesome considering I used to be a yo-yo dieter where if I wasn't on a diet, I was gaining weight, right? But what I love about this protocol, okay, and this is seriously so cool about it, and maybe this is let me just directly respond to your question. Think of it more like exercise, right? Somebody could say, well, how long do I have to keep going to the gym before I can just stop going to the gym for good and I'm safe, right? And that's not really how it works, right? As long as you continue using the protocol, you will continue to have the benefits from it. But there are no drugs in it. It is not addictive. And so at any time, you could stop. We have some people that use it indefinitely. They love it. They don't want to go off it. We have other people who use it to get to their goal. And then once they get to their goal, they stop. And we're happy for those people. They just, they're where they want to be, and maybe they maintain with healthier diet and lifestyle, and they're happy, right? That's wonderful. And then we have some people in the middle that use it on and off intermittently as needed. And all of those are good options. Susan Calhoun says, I'm a lifer here. Yeah, there's a bunch of people saying lifer. I think that once if it's not costing you money, if it's cost neutral, if it's saving you money, if it's making you feel good, if your doctor's thrilled with your blood work and you're able to get away with maybe a little bit more naughtiness when it comes to eating things that aren't so healthy, which, this does help with some of that. But it's not a license to just go eat whatever. Don't get me wrong. It's not magic, right? Yeah, why would you stop, right? So awesome. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up this call. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Midge Brown, Dr. Eric Akin, Dr. Kenneth Harper, Dr. Tiffany Hendricks, Dr. Steve Brown. 5 fantastic, wonderful people who volunteered to give their valuable time and share why they're excited about this. If somebody you love is worried about their metabolic health, send them your link, give them the discount. They will thank you later. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a great day.